I believe you've been with us throughout, and thank you. Thank you for honoring us. It's one thing to do some things like this and put it out there and nobody cares. But I'm glad that you are able to be with us, and thank you for always choosing to just listen in. And I hope as you're listening in, you are putting this into practice. Now, what I wanted us to really think through this day is we've been walking a journey, and it's still early in the year. We talked about goals last time, and probably you did that. You came up with a goal for each of the top three, and you picked one and you did a goal for it, and you did that goal and you have a goal. One of the things that really helps push the lead further is to flesh out that goal. For example, my goal is to build my 3-bedroom house in the village by August of this year. That's my goal. Someone else could have a goal to be able to finish a master's degree in counseling psychology by December of 2027. That's your goal. Now, it's important to flesh out that goal. And by fleshing it out, is to really go further and fully describe it, fully talk about it. It's like, what does that look like? When you reach that goal, what will it look like? And for example, for me, I'm looking at in my piece of land in the village, I'll be able to build my 3-bedroom house. I want the outside wall to be built with stones, the inside partitions to have bricks. I'll make sure it is self-contained. I will make sure I will not paint it on the outside. I will make sure that it has, when my sons come in, when they go home with my children, they have a place to live and they'll use 2 of the bedrooms. I'll use 1 of the bedrooms. I will make sure in the front porch, I plant flowers nicely in front of it. So I'm just trying to kind of live the goal and see myself living it, see myself in it. And it's important to do that because when you do that and you're able to talk about it, and you can talk about it, you can go on and on. It can be 1 paragraph, it can be 2 paragraphs, it can be 3 paragraphs, it can be a whole book of you talking about your dream. But the thing is, when you do that, you bring ownership to it. So fleshing out your dreams. So share it out, talk about it, and even talk to people about it. Once you flesh it out, you then need to do something that we call divide and conquer. And so for me to build my house, to divide and conquer, I need to put it into phases. So phase 1 is foundation. Phase 2 is the wall. Phase 3, and I have and this is by the way for real my goal. This is my goal, my real goal. So I'm not just making up, and I have a guy helping me to do there, and so I'm waiting for the BQs and all those things, whatever that is, to come, so that then I can be able to. So as I'm sharing with you, for me also is sharing a journey that I'm walking. And so for me, the phase 1, and the builder has told me, foundation. And we realized that the ground where I am building is a little bit wet. And so we had to revisit whatever calculations and everything else we had for the foundation. And so he's working on that, and he'll send it back to me. So that's phase 1 of the construction process. Of course, there are things I do before that, but I'm just talking of the house unit in itself. Then phase 2 will be the walling and everything. Phase 3 is the roofing and all those. Phase 4 is now the other things that come alongside it. And so it's good to do that, because then when I look at foundation, and he's yet to get back to me with how much foundation needs, I can then look at it and ask myself, do I have the will, the motivation, the resources to do this foundation as I want it done? And so it's very important to then divide and conquer. Because when you look at the whole thing, It might be overwhelming. When you break it down into pieces, it looks manageable. You can break it down, you can chew it, you can deal with it. So it's important that you divide and conquer. The next thing is then important to ask yourself, what are the obstacles that you're likely to face? Now, one of the things that I notice that I'm likely to face as I do this, my project in the village, is, of course, I'm in Nairobi. The project will be happening in the village. So there has to be movements back and forth. So there's a challenge there a little bit. Some people down there are not really very respectful of the resources that I have. And so in the land that I have, there are a few things that have happened that I don't like. I put up something, someone broke it. They stole some things I'd put up in the place. So that becomes a challenge also that I need to be thinking through. There's the issue of resources. That's a challenge also. Finances. And I'm looking at all this. I have a plan on how to secure some of the resources. I've had some conversations around some of these resources. But that is also a reality. That's a reality. Because I'm giving myself August. And if you look at it like, hey, Gabriel, are you for real? But I'm giving myself August. That I need to do that by August of this year. And another is the resources to get this done. So I've looked at that and it's like, okay, for the guys who keep stealing and spoiling my things, I have a plan for what I will do. For my traveling back and forth, my wife has said, it's something we can manage. We can go back and she goes, I go, she goes, I go. Right now, it's something in our mind, it looks like we can do it. And we have a plan on how we can do it. So it's important to look at the obstacles and the resources that you have to do this. And then you will need to do some negotiation around some things. How do you negotiate around some of those things? And so, for example, I'll pick one of those obstacles that is very clear and one of those resources-related issues that is very clear for us also. It's the idea of traveling every so often to go supervise the work being done 8 hours away from Nairobi. So I'll have to negotiate things. I'll have to figure out, okay, so if my wife is going and I'm remaining, so I need to take care of some things. I need to be able to, probably that week that my wife has gone, I need to make sure that I'm available more at home because she's gone. When maybe it's my turn to go, she has to be able to do some things that ordinarily I will do. So that, and it looks like, oh, that's too much. But I think it's important to really talk about those things with yourself or with your partner or with the person you're working with. Talk about those things, negotiate around those things. I remember once there's a goal I had, and this goal was around really spending more time with my children. And I realized, for me to realize that goal, to achieve that, there are some negotiations that I needed to have. And this was around my colleagues at work, the things that were expected of me. Some meetings could not happen when they were supposed to happen, so I needed to push them to different times because I was keen on making sure that I'm working towards my goal. And this is really if you want to be very intentional around this. And once you negotiate, then it's important then to really be clear and say, okay, so this is our goal. We've fleshed it out and we have broken it down. We have looked at the obstacles and resources. We have looked at negotiated around it. We have negotiated around it and we've seen, okay, this happened, if this happened, what makes up for this? What makes up for this? What makes up for this? And so what are we now doing now? So like right now, as I'm speaking to you, there's a financing we are waiting for. That's our action step right now. So there's a financing we are waiting for. So as our builder is working on the BQs, here we are waiting for some financing. When the financing comes out, the ball is rolling. Now your case might be different. But it's important, and sometimes you might need to talk to someone about it. Talk to someone about goal. Walk through that process with someone and be clear on your natural next step. That way, your goal doesn't just remain a wishful thinking. It remains something you can do something about. And so I invite you to flesh your goal. Divide it and conquer. Divide it into manageable pieces, phases that you can visualize. If you can't, speak to someone about that. Once you've divided it, look at what are the obstacles for each phase, for different steps of it. What are the obstacles and how you're going to go about it? Negotiation, and then clarity on what you're going to do next. I hope this helps you really see how to move your goal forward. On the next one, we're going to talk about how to overcome some resistance that you might face. What does that mean to overcome some resistance? We're going to talk about that next. Meanwhile, thank you very much for listening. And I pray that this continues to add value to your life. This continues to add value to your growth as a leader who is seeking just to really have a clear impact in every sphere of their life. Thank you, and do have a wonderful time.